Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Fuller, and as chair of the board, I welcome you to this March 15th, 2022 regular meeting of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Our communications manager, Emily Kaiser, will now describe how our meetings operate, how to access the agenda packet, and how people may participate remotely. Emily.
Thanks, Commissioner. There are multiple ways to make public comment today during today's meeting, whether you are joining us in person or virtually. If you're here in person and would like to make public comment, please fill out the sign-in sheet back here now. If you're joining us virtually, we will ask you to virtually raise your hand at the appropriate time in the agenda. If you're joining us virtually, the chat feature on this Zoom meeting is available only as technical support for users on their computer or smartphone. If you're experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, please submit a comment in the chat feature and I will help you troubleshoot. If you are a staff member experiencing issues, please contact the IT help desk for assistance. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded. A link to the video recording will be posted to wcroads.org in the coming days. There are printed copies of today's meeting agenda on the table back here, and it is also posted to wcroads.org. There's also a link available in the chat if you're joining us virtually. Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you, Emily. I now call this meeting to order and ask Aaron to please call the roll.
Chair Barb Fuller.
Present.
Vice Chair Rod Green.
Here.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller.
Here.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Here.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Present.
Managing Director Cheryl Siddle. Director of Engineering and County Highway Engineer Matt McDonald. And then Director of Operations Jim Harmon.
Present.
And Director of Finance and IT Dan Ackerman.
Here.
Thank you, Aaron. I would ask if you would please join us in saying the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Support. Any discussion? Any additions, changes, deletions? Hearing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller.
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The agenda is approved as presented unanimously. Next item is acceptance of the minutes. May I have a motion to accept the board meeting minutes of March 1st, 2022 as presented, pages 4 through 12 of the agenda packet?
Certainly you may.
Support. Any discussion? Any changes, corrections? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller.
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Aye.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The minutes of March 1st, 2022 regular meeting are approved unanimously. May I now have a motion to accept the closed session minutes of March 1st, 2022? These were sent separately to the members of the board. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Support. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller.
Aye.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The closed session minutes of March 1st, 2022 are accepted as presented unanimously. Next item on our agenda is public comment. This is the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board. Emily will explain how people may be recognized to offer comments.
Thanks, Commissioner. So since this is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and virtual attendees, we'll take turns between those attending in person and those attending virtually. So for virtual attendees, we ask that you virtually raise your hand now. If you're viewing the meeting on your computer, first make sure to click Join Audio. You can then raise your hand by clicking the Participants or the Reactions button at the bottom of your screen and then the Raised Hand button. If you dialed into the meeting from your touch-tone phone, raise your hand by dialing *9. I'll unmute virtual participants with raised hands one at a time. I will announce your username or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. Please share your name and address before beginning your comments. For in-person attendees, we'll start with those of you who have signed up on the sign-in sheet at the door here. If you didn't sign in, you're still welcome to make comment. I'll notify you when it is your turn. Each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes to share their comments with the board. Okay, we have a list of in-person participants that we'll start with, Commissioner. So we've got Greg and Joyce Cool on the first list. I believe they're in the room.
Are the Cools here?
No comment? Okay, all right.
No comment. All right.
Then we have Ron and Kathy James. Would you like to make comment? Okay, please go up to the podium and introduce yourself.
And it's helpful to us if you're willing to give us your street address so we know where you live.
Ron James, and I live at 43 West Judd.
And your comments, sir?
They are starting a project to redo a subdivision that was built behind us.
Okay.
Our 4 houses are like on Judd and this big subdivision behind us. And we got a notification last week, I think it was, that we were going to be responsible for paying X amount of dollars for them to have their road repaved. We have never been part of this subdivision. There's some of us don't even have land frontage on the road in the subdivision, and others have like a 20-foot or 10-foot space that when they put the big bridge, I don't know if you remember, it's been quite a while ago, they put a big bridge in Judd Road and they closed our road off that we used, our little gravel road that came out of the land that we own onto Judd Road. They built this giant bridge in there and said, well, oh, too bad, we're closing you off. And they had started the subdivision by then and said, you will go out that way. That is our only connection to this subdivision. Now, the meeting that was last week, I think it was, we came and talked to some people here and they talked about the culverts and they're, I don't know if anybody ever goes out and looks at them. They're not in the right places. It's actually, there's a big swampland behind us and I'm supposing that's where it's supposed to drain to, but it's uphill from where the culverts come into the ditch or whatever it's called to make the water go out. And you know, it's just completely making a mess for us. But that's the main thing I wanted to bring up, was that we have never been a part of the subdivision behind us, and never until we got the letter last week that, oh yeah, we're going to charge you X amount of dollars to do this. We don't understand what's going on.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you for being here today. Emily?
Thanks, Commissioners. So we do have a virtual raise hand, so we'll go there next. Let's see. Lynn Gaskell, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hi, thank you. My
You
name
go
is
ahead.
Lynn Gaskell. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Lynn.
My name is Lynn Gaskell. I live at 193 Judd Road. I'm included in the special assessment district for Timber Ridge. And I don't really see why, because I have absolutely no frontage. None of my property touches Ridgeline Drive at all. I do use about 300 feet of the road to get out of my driveway, but my driveway touches land that is owned by the neighbor across the street from me. And then his land, his property touches the road. We're not part of the subdivision. We're not part of the HOA. And this would we're a one income family. This would negatively impact us financially to be included in this special assessment district. And again, I have already asked for exemption, but I am again asking the board to exempt us from this. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay,
Emily?
then we'll go back to an in-person. The next on the list is Kay and Larry Merks.
Hi,
Good afternoon,
good
Kay.
afternoon. I am Kay Merks. I live on 39 Judd Road. Along with the Jameses and the Cools, we had a small court. And in 1990 thereabouts, the county determined to change things on the road and closed our access to the road and pointed out back and said, there you go, you got access back out of otherwise we would have been condemned. It was like a taking of our land because our direct access for the past 20 years, we've been there 43 and some of the neighbors longer. So it was a real detriment to have the road closed, but they gave us an egress. And so 23 years later, the township, the association, and the county are adding an SAD. Our drive is gravel, and I find it rather insulting to worry about the property values that will be damaged by not repaving these roads, because when this project is all said and done, and we've been appointed to pay $30,000 between the 3 households now on the lane, we'll still be on a gravel drive. And we are forced to exit the extra distance out through the subdivision. And looking up in 1986, the Supreme Court declared that there must be a benefit requirement of an SAD, adding market value to any properties in the SAD. And since we continue to reside on a gravel lane, after our cumulative value of around $33,000 between our 3 households, please explain to me how we're directly receiving a value from having our lane closed, a close access, people can't find us. UPS has said to me, oh, you should change your address, obviously not understanding that a deed was issued in a certain address. You just don't go down to the post office and change your address. Yeah, it's very confusing to live where we live now because people know we don't live. We've had friends of 20 years get lost finding us, who's been to our house 20 times. So the idea of contributing to the SAD, as I say, is just a little insulting when we never asked to be in this situation 40 some years ago, 30 years ago, whenever the subdivision was put in.
Thank you, Kay.
Okay, we'll go to another in-person. John Vesper is next on the list.
Good afternoon,
Hi.
John Vesper, 970 Moorville Road, York Township.
Please proceed.
Madam Chair, honorable members. My name is John Vesper. I'm an employee of the Road Commission for 19 years and counting. I am the union president of TPOM, a taxpayer, a Washtenaw County registered voter. I'm here today as we are quite aware that your legal counsel will or already has updated the body on fact finding. It is regretful that we have ended up in this place. After our first mediation meeting, I left thinking we were close to signing a deal. During the second mediation meeting, things spiraled back to square one. We, the truck drivers, we, the mechanics, we, the heavy equipment operators, we, the sign and signals departments, we have made many titles since the pandemic. First, the work was essential, but we weren't. We are also called critical infrastructure workers and more in between. We have over 80% winter call-in rate for the road commission. The union is not here to bargain a contract. We felt as though a deal could have and should have been made. The union has bargained in good faith. We seek your guidance and ask that you send your bargaining team back to the table with clear instructions to get a deal done. I appreciate your time. I will answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vesper.
Commissioners, I'm going to read through the instructions of providing virtual comment one more time, just to see if there's any other virtual participants. And then we do still have another on the sign-in sheet here. So virtual attendees, we ask that you virtually raise your hand. Now, if you're viewing the meeting on your computer, you want to first make sure to click join audio. You can then raise your hand by clicking the participants or reactions button at the bottom of your screen, and then the raised hand button. If you dialed into the meeting from your touch tone phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. I'll unmute virtual participants with raised hands one at a time. I'll announce your username or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and address before beginning your comments. So we do have another person on the sign-in sheet for in the room. So the next on the list would be Greg Gaw.
Good afternoon. My name is Greg Gaw, and I'm a member of the T-Pome bargaining team. I'm sure you are aware we are heading for fact finding, which I think we can agree is not tax dollars well spent. The union has negotiated in good faith and been very reasonable in our stance. Here is why we are firm in our stance, and we're not trying to bargain the contract here. From year 2016 to present day, this is the approximate difference in pay increase based on 2,080-hour work per year. Heavy truck driver has only increased about $5,429 in 6 years. Director of operation has increased approximately $33,217 in 6 years. Managing director has increased approximately $37,377 in 6 years. Human resource manager has approximately $23,670 increase. As you can see, in that huge gap alone, here's some other factors that we have bargained for. Make WCRC more appealing to new hires. We had 42 people quit in 7 years, 3 in 1 week. Cleaning up the language in the contract to stop the frivolous grievance that costs unnecessary taxpayer money. Overtime, we have a better than 80% call-in rate for winter maintenance. We asked about the ARPA funds for the federal government with no answers. A lot of other road commissions and police and all that got the ARPA funds for being essential workers. We were here, but none of us got that bonus. Simply put, we have a national truck driver shortage, and it's not going away anytime soon. The union has tried very hard to help fill vacancies, which in turn makes the motoring public much safer. We had very little movement on management side, and we do not understand why we are being treated this way. We are deemed essential employees, but not compensated accordingly. It is very obvious that management is invested in, and they should be. But why shouldn't the employees and the truck drivers be invested the same way? I can email you all the documentation that we have based all our proposals on. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, commissioners, that's everybody on the list for in-person participation. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to make public comment? If so, please go to the podium. Okay, and last call for any virtual participation on those of you joining us from Zoom. If you're joining us from your touchtone phone, you can make comment by dialing *9 to raise your hand, or you can go to the reactions or participants button and then the raise hand button on your screen from your computer or smartphone. I think we have made it through everybody.
All right. Next item on our agenda our written communications. They appear on pages 13 through 19 of the packet. Commissioners, do you have anything you want to comment on or draw our attention to? Commissioner Doug Fuller, I thought you had a comment you wanted to make.
Oh. No, yeah, there's communication there from
Page six, okay,
about. Trying to find it. here.
page 16 and 17.
Thank you. Pointing out that there are some members of Chris Board that will be up for re-election. This isn't the time or place to go into it by name. I will, we'll have an opportunity to vote on that. But the 3 commissioners whose term expires this year are all sitting members of that board present. And I'm pretty familiar with one of them happens to be our chairman. And I've served on that board for 6, 7 years now, maybe longer. They're all good people, and we should all consider pretty seriously simply re-electing good and valuable work.
All right,
I had a comment.
please, Commissioner McCollum.
Yes. I really like the letter from Barbara. I can't pronounce her last name. Talked about Kaleo, talked about the comment on the pothole with so much of that going on, and she was appreciative of how quickly it was fixed and how well it was done. And also the road commission's response on the letter about the drainage concern on Bemis Road, I thought was very good. You did a good job and follow up on that.
Other comments?
Yes, I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank everyone who gave a public comment today, even virtually and in person. Thank you very much.
Any other comments about the written communications?
I don't have comment about the written
Okay,
communications.
okay, thank you. If that's all on written communications, we'll now move on to commissioner and staff follow-up to public comment. Commissioner Green, he just gave his. Commissioner Yamas?
I also want to thank people. I don't know if people wrote their comments down. I don't know if it'd be appropriate at this time. Can they submit those comments so we can read them, or they can be for the minutes? I tried to take notes, what everybody had to say. It's kind of hard to do.
Since the meeting is recorded, Commissioner, I believe they will appear in the minutes going
Okay.
forward.
Okay, great.
Correct me if I'm wrong on that point. Emily's shaking her head. Yes, they
So-
will be included.
I want to thank all of you for coming and being concerned and educating the board.
Commissioner McCollum?
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone for coming to the meeting today, and I appreciate your comments about the situation on Judd Road. And I appreciate the comments from Washtenaw County Road Commission, union representatives and staff. Thank you.
I would just like, again, to thank all of you for coming. I hope we've been a welcoming board and you don't feel intimidated about stepping forward and expressing your views and opinions. I trust that you've been heard by this board and understand that negotiations are moving forward. It's our understanding that they are. I'd also like to thank the folks who live on Judd Road for taking the time. It's always helpful to put faces to the names of the people that communicate with us. It does add a dimension that's missing if it's a phone call or an email, although I understand that's more convenient and accessible for many people.
I just have one more
Commissioner
comment.
Yamas?
Yeah, so I just have one more comment. I know that this is for the people on Judd Road. I know this is a complicated process, and I do see that the organization has been communicating with you, and hopefully you understand the process going forward. And everyone has been open, and I hope they continue to be open, and we want to thank you and know that this is a difficult process. That you have some recourse. We know that. Thank you.
If there's no further reaction to the comments that we heard today, we will move along to new business. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, items 1 through 13, appearing on pages 20 through 55, but there's additional background in the packet that runs from pages 56 through 112. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, thank you. Any discussion? Thank you. Hearing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The consent agenda is approved as presented unanimously. Next, we have two action items. May I have a motion to approve action item number 1 for right-of-way acquisition on Willow Road at the Platte Road intersection in York Township? The resolution appears on page 27 of the packet. Just get to mine.
As soon as I turn the page, I'll be happy.
Yeah. And the background actually appears on pages 57 through 62. May I have a motion?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none. If you would please read the motion.
Sure. That upon the recommendation of the Director of Engineering and the County Highway Engineer and concurrence of the Managing Director, the board hereby approves the acquisition of a 753 square foot or 0.017 acre public road easement, more particularly described in attachment A, from the owner, Sally Lewis, upon a parcel of property commonly known as 80 West Willow Road in York Township, Michigan, and referred to as tax parcel number S 19224000008 in the amount of $1,325.
Thank you. I'll ask again if there's any discussion. Seeing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Action item number 1 is approved unanimously. Next item is, and may I have a motion, please, to accept the final determination for the York Township Timber Ridge Special Assessment District. The resolution is very long. It appears on pages 28 through 31. Background appearing on pages 63 through 112. May I have a motion?
Yes, you may.
Support.
Thank you. Do we need to read this entire motion, Madam Managing Director? For the record, is that? Okay, all right. I'm happy to go ahead and do that. Whereas the Washtenaw County Board of County Road Commissioners did on February 1st, 2022, pursuant to the provisions of Act 246 of Public Acts from 1931 as amended, make and issue a first order of determination that the York Timber Ridge improvements are necessary for the benefit of the public and for the benefit of the public welfare and convenience. And whereas in and by said first order of determination, this board did resolve that a hearing be held at the Washtenaw County Road Commission, 555 North Zeeb Road, Ann Arbor, Michigan, on March 2nd, 2022 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Said hearing was held by a hearing examiner duly appointed by this board for the purpose of hearing objections, if any, to the proposed improvements, that participants be given the opportunity to attend the hearing in person or via Zoom, and that notice of said hearing to be given in accordance with the statutes in such case made and provided. And whereas notice of said hearing was given in accordance with the statutes in such case and made and provided, and whereas in accordance with the provisions of said Act 246, the hearing examiner did hold a hearing at the time and place appointed by this board for the purpose of hearing such objections, and did hear all persons who wished to be heard on the matter of said improvements. And whereas findings of fact and proposed determinations have been submitted by this board, duly appointed hearing examiner, now therefore be it ordered and determined that this board does hereby accept the findings of fact and proposed determinations made by the hearing examiner, and does hereby order and determine that said improvements are necessary for the benefit of the public welfare and convenience. The final specifications heretofore filed with this board, a copy of which is attached hereto, be adopted, and that such improvements shall be made according to said final specifications. The following parcels being a part of section 1-5, York Township, Washtenaw County, Michigan, shall be liable for the total assessment for benefits on account of said paving improvements. And there are 4 columns of tax ID numbers that I'm not going to read through, but they are available. Also, I believe there are 68 parcels actually. All such parcels of land shall be and hereby are declared to constitute special assessment district number 13 for the purpose of making said improvements. Said improvements shall be paid for by special assessment as provided by the statutes in such case made and provided, and that said total special assessment shall be divided into 10 annual installments. Pending this order of determination becoming final, a special assessment roll apportioning the percent of benefits to be paid by the respective owners of parcels of land in said special assessment district be prepared, and that the unpaid balance of said special assessment roll shall bear interest from and after August 1st, 2022 at the rate not to exceed 1% per annum above the average rate of interest borne by the bonds issued by or on behalf of the commissioners. Said interest to be payable annually on each installment due date, provided, however, that if bonds are not issued by or on behalf of the commissioners in anticipation of the collection of special assessments, then the unpaid balance of said special assessments shall bear interest at the rate of 6% per annum. Said interest to be payable annually on each installment due date. A copy of this order of determination be served by first-class mail on each owner of or party in interest in property to be assessed at their addresses as shown upon the last local tax assessment records, and unless a petition for reconsideration is filed as provided in Act 246 of the Public Acts of 1931 as amended, this order of determination shall become the final order of determination of this Board of County Road Commissioners 10 days after mailing copies of this order of determination. All resolutions and parts of resolution insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution be the same are here rescinded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The final order of determination is accepted unanimously. Excuse me 1 minute. There is a question about whether or not the motion was seconded. Aaron, do you indicate a seconder? I thought I heard one, but I could be
Yes, I
mistaken.
have Commissioner Joanne McCollum seconding the
Thank you.
York Timber Ridge. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. It's always good to check. All right, we are moving on to the reports of the county commissioners. Do we have either of our county commissioners with us today?
We have Commissioner Sanders. Let me unmute her. Commissioner Sanders, yeah. We should be able to hear you if you want to make comment.
Good afternoon. I don't know if I really have a comment other than to share with you, which you may already know, we approved an additional $11 million out of our ARPA funds 2 weeks ago. We're very excited about that, and it should be servicing 48197 and 48198. And we are looking to target those agencies that have not traditionally been contracted by or through the county, so that we can try and disperse that money to some more on the ground agencies, as well as help them understand how to apply for grants so that they can be sustainable in their programming. And then, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't take just a slight privilege to say we also approved the Mobile Support Services Initiative, which I claim is my baby, and will allow us to check out the roads that are more rural in our county once we get these two Ann Arbor area transit vehicles retrofitted and out on the roads. So you may hear more from me because we expect to be in the more western rural areas of the county, as well as the eastern areas of the county. So I think that's it for now. We do have a meeting tomorrow. Of course, everybody is always welcome to join us. And I feel like I've been on a call with you all since 9 o'clock this morning. So I don't have anything else to say. It's good to see
Thank you,
everybody.
Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Sanders. Is Commissioner Schenk with us, Emily? All right. We will move on to the report of the road commissioners. I know Commissioner Doug Fuller submitted his virtually.
Nothing to add at this point.
All right, Commissioner Yamas.
So, let me get back to my report. Writing notes to myself.
Do you want me to come back to you?
Nope, I have it.
Okay.
So on 3/1, I attended the road commissioner chat virtually. We had no one, but I did that on 3/2. I reviewed the commissioners board meeting virtually on YouTube. I was on vacation. And on 3/4 and 3/11, I reviewed the County Road Association of Michigan legislative updates. And that is my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Green?
Yes, thank you. From March 8th through 10th, I had the opportunity to attend the 2022 Highway Conference and Road Show, which was sponsored by the County Road Association. It was a very good conference. I learned a lot and very useful.
Thank you. Commissioner McCollum?
Yes, on March 8th through 10, I attended the County Road Association titled Lane Shift Ahead Conference and Roadshow. I also renewed my membership for Roads Plus. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I will report that on March 4th, I had a conversation with Andrew DeLue, who is the Director of Strategic Planning with Washtenaw County. He asked for some input regarding spreading the word about the county's climate action plan. On March 10th, I attended the County Road Association business meeting and award breakfast. And I'm proud to share with everyone that Distinguished Service Awards were received by both Commissioner Douglas Fuller and our Managing Director, Cheryl Siddle. A merit award was given to Matt McDonnell for organizing the County Engineers Workshop. He is our Director of Engineering and County Highway Engineer here. And also an Impress Award was accepted by our HR Director, Nicole Peterson, regarding the human performance evaluation structure that was implemented in this past year. With that, I will turn it over to our Managing Director. The report, staff, and updates appear on page 113 through 128 of the packet. Cheryl.
Thank you. I'll start by asking if anyone has any questions with respect to the staff report or any of the information that was in your packet.
The
Commissioner
HR,
Yamas?
I'm sorry, the HR report, I just wanted a little bit more information. I didn't really quite understand what I read. And I think maybe because it's just a pie chart.
On the pie chart itself, yes.
What is your question specifically?
I don't really quite understand it gives me percentages, how many people applied, how many didn't, how many got the job. So we were also getting from HR some of the work that they were doing to recruit more people, and was wondering where that is. You know, the work with Washtenaw Community College and what we're doing to retain and or recruit.
Okay, I can certainly get with Nicole and with Alicia so that we can give a summary of where we're at with any of those additional efforts. I know specifically with respect to the Washtenaw Community College efforts that we really have heard nothing back. Nicole has responded and attempted, you know, to work with that group, but it's been very hit and miss, and it doesn't seem to have a lot of momentum at this point, unfortunately.
Thank you.
If you have further questions, maybe, you know, get them with some specificity to Cheryl, and so that you get what you're looking for, get a better picture of what you're looking
Yeah,
for.
absolutely. Happy to answer any questions or have a dialogue if it's easier to do that
Okay,
as well.
great.
The only other thing that I was going to share before I hand it over to directors for additional information is, like many of you, I was up at the highway conference last week. One of the presentations was by our state legislators, where that day, last Wednesday, the House did vote to suspend the Michigan gas tax. I just saw on our very brief break between the working session and this board meeting that the Senate too now voted to suspend the Michigan gas tax. That would be suspending for 6 months, potentially, the gas tax, which is Michigan transportation funds. To put that into perspective, for our organization, approximately 50% of our revenue comes from the Michigan Transportation Fund. And of that MTF that we call it, 50% of that comes from the gas tax. The other 50% comes from vehicle registration fees. So obviously we'll be paying very close attention as to where that goes, whether or not the governor vetoes that, because that potentially does have a big hit for our budget. So stay tuned. That's not wonderful news, obviously, but we'll see where that goes. As written, or at least as my brief understanding of it, is that right now there's no provision for backfilling that. There was some discussion that some of the COVID relief funds would be used to backfill that gas tax suspension. As it's written right now, as I understand it, that provision does not exist. So again, as it stands right now, that potentially blows a really big hole in our budget. So stay tuned. April is the time when we typically go through our first quarter budget review anyways. So certainly we're paying very close attention to that legislation as it's moving its way through. And then in addition, we'll be coming back to this board next month to discuss any budget adjustments that will be necessary at that time.
Do we know how long the gas tax is going to be suspended?
As written, 6 months.
It's a long time.
That's a long time. Any other questions? All right, on that happy note, I'll hand it over. Let's start with Jim Harmon, our Director of Operations, to give us an update on what's going on in the Operations Department. Jim?
Thank you, Cheryl, and good afternoon, members of the board. In addition to the information for the Operations Department staff report that can be found in your packet, beginning on page 114 through 118, I did want to provide just a little bit of additional information regarding winter. As of Sunday, the Road Commission workforce had worked 67 days performing winter maintenance this season to date. And it's quite likely, and it's not unusual, to have a few more days in the month of March and even early April. The warming trend in the current forecast suggests otherwise. So fingers crossed that we'll continue to see a warming trend. The remainder of the frost will come out of the road system and the moisture content will go down so that the road system stabilizes, and Matt feels confident to suspend seasonal weight restrictions. At that point, that will allow our workforce to get rolling in earnest with drainage improvements and road improvements. They have been hard at work holding the road system together, both the county road system and the state trunk line system in Washtenaw County, through rigorous patching efforts, both stone patching and cold patching of pavement and unpaved roads. And we trust that, again, with favorable forecast conditions, will improve and allow us to transition into construction. Crews have been working on forestry operations in preparation for limestone resurfacing in the northern tier of the county, and that work will continue moving south for roads that are programmed for paving and seal coating this year. In addition, I wish to particularly thank the board for the approval of the various township agreements under the consent agenda today, drawing emphasis to the Moon Road project. The board may recall that it had appropriated $500,000 toward that road rehabilitation project of Moon Road, segment between Celine Milan Road and Willis Road. Those funds were not sufficient to improve that entire length. York Township, we have been in conversation with York Township for well over a year about Moon Road, and they stepped up to join this board in funding the balance of that project. Total estimated cost is a little over $900,000. Our board put forth $500,000, and York Township's committed to funding the balance of that. So we're very excited to have that partnership and grateful for your approval and the Board of Trustees' approval. That work will be getting underway here very soon with a hope of completing it in advance of Memorial Day holiday. And also, we did receive a brand new motor grader from Caterpillar. The board had approved that purchase and ordered that machine last year. It recently arrived and was outfitted and deployed to District 1 to assist them with their grading operations. And then finally, special thanks to the board for approving the professional services contract under the consent agenda today with Hobbs & Black Architects to allow us to proceed with the design and site planning and site plan approval with our neighbor Scioto Township for a new salt barn at our main yard. Design will occur this year. We hope to have final plans and specs by this fall to go out for competitive bid, subject to this board's procurement policy for facilities, and actually construct the new barn, new chemical storage building next year. And that would indeed replace our aged salt dome and also our brine tank corral that's adjacent to the salt dome. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Commissioners? Commissioner McCollum.
Yes, I was just looking at the latest fuel trends, the one update March 12th, and blue line, that's the gasoline.
What's your question?
Yeah, I'm getting to it.
Okay.
Just wanted to know, because it is extreme rise, how that's going to affect us in the future with getting gas because we need gas to operate our vehicles and machines and things like that.
Thank you. And that is a vitally important question. Just about everything we do depends on petroleum products. Gasoline, of course, diesel fuel, more importantly, and a variety of lubricants for all of our equipment and machinery. Beyond that, the petroleum products relate directly to future costs for salt, asphalt, concrete. Everything that has to be transported, trucked, produced is dependent on the petroleum market. The costs that I've been sharing, that I was sharing with you on a weekly basis, reflect extreme volatility, extreme inflation. Fortunately, many of the products that we need have been secured through prior procurement, and those prices are firm and locked in for this year. All bets are off as far as the future is concerned and how these costs will ultimately relate to our doing business going forward beyond the term of the various contracts that we have. We do have a first quarter budget review coming up. I won't steal Dan's thunder, but this is something that all of us are looking very closely at and may most likely recommend adjustments to this board based on the inflation in our motor fuels. Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions for Jim?
I think-
Commissioner Yamas.
So I think he answered that because I do remember us securing,
Oh,
but the question is more like for Cheryl and for Dan Ackerman, a projected idea of how that's going to impact us. I know that what's happening in the world today is impacting this, just as the market, but more bad news to our budget, already recognizing if we lose 50% of our funding, I don't even have no idea. I guess that was just my comment more than a question.
Okay.
Is recognizing that. And will Dan be looking at that, and we'll see that later on, like in our next report from him.
All right.
All right, well, thank you, Jim. Speaking of Dan, obviously in light of all the comments just made, many of us are checking in on Dan at least daily, if not hourly, to make sure he's still standing. Just to assure the board, we're obviously closely monitoring everything that is going on. Fuel prices is certainly one thing, materials is a whole nother. There's certainly challenges with respect to any of the contracts we're entering into. Vendors only want to hold prices for 30 days, understandably in the market that we're at. We appreciate that this board has always taken a very balanced approach with respect to the budget. We certainly have projects and we have commitments that have been made on that front. We do have staffing challenges as well that we certainly want to make sure that we're taking into consideration. And then obviously we have all the other commitments that we've made as well. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but we are certainly paying very close attention to it, with Dan taking the lead on much of that. And we will be having some very lively conversations, I am sure, over the next month. So Dan, not to steal any of your thunder, if you'd like to go ahead.
Those are certainly all good things to talk about. Good afternoon, board. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'd like to start with the last page of your board packet, page 128. We did receive our Michigan Transportation Funds for January of 2022, and they're up about 3% from January of 2021. So certainly that's a good thing. We've already kind of talked about if the state gas tax is suspended, certainly there will be significant impacts to this organization. So we've already have kind of been talking about that, and we always run, various scenarios depending on, what happens. And so, my focus has been the first quarter budgets, just trying to get everything set up, get all the numbers updated as best I can. It's always an important time for this agency, and, going over the first quarter budget, seeing how we come out at the end of the previous year, seeing what carryover from the previous year. Say there was some equipment that was budgeted for that we need to make sure we carry those funds into the new year. Seeing what winter's doing. Winter, I think, has been fairly typical at this point, but seeing if we need to make any adjustments for winter. But I was kind of writing down, besides that state gas tax suspension, which obviously that would be a game changer. The increased costs for goods and services. We've been seeing lack of bidders for lots of materials, projects, just about anything. Inflation is the highest it's been in 42 years. So we're really, and we're experiencing service delays. There were some things that Jim had the board approved last October that we may not receive some road equipment until maybe by the end of the year. And we try to order that early so we can get it in time for winter. And, there's just, supply chain issues and just all sorts of challenges getting goods and services to organizations. So we're looking at all that. We're looking at our procurement process to make sure that we can still get what we need in order to function as an agency. We're continuing to monitor this very closely. Like I said, the first quarter budget adjustments are always very important, but even more so with what we're seeing right now. So certainly we will have something to the board that we feel is sustainable, that adjusts for all these increases. If it's for fuel, we'll have to make that adjustment. If some of the project costs are coming in higher, we'll have to make some adjustments and then kind of see where we are. As a reminder, we want to make sure we still have a healthy fund balance in case there are other emergencies or if situations get worse. But certainly, we've been through a lot. We've been through the economic downturn, around 2008. There are a lot of uncertainty with COVID and what impact that would have on things as well. So, we will make sure that we are ready and that the organization can sustain, what we're seeing right now. So I don't know if there's any other questions on the budget or some of the things that are going on in the world or inflationary costs. Any questions the board have on that?
Commissioner Green.
Just one, given the suspension of the gas tax, how soon will this organization feel that pinch?
That's a great question. Cheryl, do you recall the legislation saying when that would be effective?
No, in the summary that I saw, it was a little unclear as to when it would potentially take effect. Originally, I had heard April 1st, but based on what I was reading today, which again was very quick, I'm not certain of when that would be. And it still has to be, a decision has to be made by the governor. I mean, right now the Senate has just approved it, so it still needs to move forward. There's additional action to take place.
And I believe that was supposed to last through the end of their fiscal year, which would be September. Is that correct?
Right. I believe it was to be a 6-month suspension. That is correct.
Right.
But typically we see, Dan, what, a 3-month lag in the MTF?
Yeah, about a 3-month lag from when
2 to 3 months.
funds are collected to when we actually receive the payment for it, because as you can imagine, it's quite a process. All the gas stations have to report all their information statewide. There's reconciliations that are done, and then finally MDOT feels comfortable with here's how much money was collected by county or by agency. So there is certainly a lag in that. Any other questions on the budget? Okay, and like I said, we will be monitoring it. We always say we monitor it closely, but even more so given all the challenges that we're seeing right now. And just briefly on IT, we feel the boardroom's about 99% complete as far as all the AV improvements. And I think the meeting today has looked great. And a lot of it is just kind of tweaking things for the board, for Emily, and just making sure that staff is comfortable with the utilization of the technology. And IT definitely has many projects. The assembly room, there's a few outstanding items there. Chris and Josh will be doing some testing there, but the goal is to have it work as smoothly as the boardroom is working, and I'm sure we will get there for sure. And then after that, there's the Teams phone project that will be a priority for IT. So definitely lots of things that IT is working on right now. Any questions to me? Great, I appreciate it. Thank you. I see Jim raised his hand. Was that for me?
Yep. Let's find out. He's nodding yes.
Thank you. More good news, right? It appears the Senate did approve House Bill 5570 today. So that ultimately will go to Governor Whitmer for consideration.
Jim, was it given immediate effect?
Scrolling to the bottom. It does not appear to. That's going to require further scrutiny, Madam Chair.
So I believe the governor could either approve or veto, right? And even if it's vetoed, it could still come back in some form or another, or is it dead in the water at that point?
I'm not sure to others. I'm not sure either.
Okay.
It would
Thank
take,
you.
it would take a vote.
Correct.
Yeah.
They'd have to override her veto, which I think requires a supermajority.
And I don't believe, at least based on the initial vote, that there was a supermajority.
Yeah.
Okay.
She could also pocket veto, just not take any action and let it go into effect, but.
Madam Chair, it says beginning April 1 as Cheryl had originally understood, and it would go through September 30th.
So given the lag, getting back to Commissioner Green's question, probably maybe around June or so, we would feel that impact because of the lag of when the collections take place and when we receive the funds. So basically the second half of our budget year.
Thank you.
All right, Dan, thank you.
That's it.
Well, not last but not least, Matt.
Already heard a lot from me this afternoon, so I'll keep it brief. We did receive bids at the last MDOT bid letting for Grove Road and La Forge. They were slightly over the engineer's estimate by about 10%. So nothing earth shattering, but up. We do have two projects in the upcoming letting. The Pontiac Trail North Territorial Roundabout project is in the MDOT bid letting for April, and also Barker Road resurfacing and Packard Road resurfacing. So I'll be happy to report hopefully some good results next month. So we are underway with tree removals on Pontiac Trail and North Territorial. So that's underway. That's a separate.
What's underway?
Tree removals
Okay,
at Pontiac Trail and North Territorial. That's a separate contract to adhere to the environmental restrictions for getting the trees down before March 31st. So
They're the ones with the pink dots on them?
that's correct. Happy to answer any questions. Other than that, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Well, that's it for staff. We'll work on coming back with some better news at the next board meeting. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. At this point in time, may I have a motion to enter closed session under Section 8E of the Open Meetings Act to consult with our attorney regarding, is that today? Lisa Johnson versus the Washtenaw County Road Commission Board et al. Case number 22-000-197-CH.
So moved.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Emily, would you care to describe the closed session?
Sure, thank you.
process?
So for virtual participants, if you're not a road commissioner or a designated staff member, I'll now move you to the virtual waiting room. If you'd like to be returned to the open session of the meeting once we've completed the closed session, please remain in that virtual waiting room and I'll readmit you once the closed session has been completed. For people in the room here today, please exit the boardroom unless you're a designated staff member or commissioner. You're welcome to wait in the lobby until the closed session has been completed and I'll reopen the doors.
We have now returned to regular session. I'd like to point out that the next board meeting is scheduled.
We did have a few people in the virtual waiting room, so we're just letting them get signed back in.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's
I
okay.
can't see them, so I forget they're there.
No worries. All right, I think we are ready to resume.
All right. We have now returned to regular session. I'd like to point out that our next board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, April 5th, begin at 1 p.m. Very high likelihood that we will call a working session that morning as well, to be determined. Next virtual chat with the Road Commission tomorrow at noon. I am the commissioner on call for that session, and on March 23rd, it's Commissioner Doug Fuller on call for the chat. And I'd like to thank Doug for stepping in and covering the chat session most recently for us. If there's no further business to come before the board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.